This is Ryan Walters on the left. He's a superintendent of Oklahoma schools, and he is absolutely psychotic. He is a white supremacist. In fact, I'll take the step to say he's a full-blown Nazi. He's a full-blown Nazi. I don't call people that just for fun. He is actually a Nazi that believes in a superior race, effectively. And he's been trying to, he's super litigious too. And he's suing FFRF right now for some stupid thing. And he's also been trying to erode the barrier between church and state since he took power. He's absolutely out of his head. Listen to this.
This is crystal clear. Don't let the radical atheists, ACLU, the Radical Teachers Union continue to push state-sponsored atheism.
Oh, yeah, by the way, he calls the teachers union a terrorist group. Not joking. He calls them a terrorist group.
By not allowing Christians who want to educate kids to have their free exercise of religion. This is about school choice, parents' rights, and the freedom of your religion that is exercised and protected in that Constitution. This is a crucial case for the future of America and the future of our schools.
So what he's talking about here is he basically started redirecting taxpayer money to religious education, which is a clear violation of separation of church and state if I've ever seen it. It explicitly says you cannot use public funds to favor one religion over another. The government cannot favor one religion over another. And by creating that as the rule, it means that if Christians want to have Christian schools, then we have to have Satanist schools as well. We have to have Muslim schools and Buddhist schools and atheist schools. In a court of law, for all intents and purposes, atheism, though it's not a religion, it is viewed as a religion for religious purposes, or for legal purposes, because it's an answer to the religious question. So we can have full-blown atheist schools, full-blown Satanist schools, if he's going to open this door. But that's the thing. He doesn't want Satanist or Muslim or whatever schools. He wants Christian schools and Christian schools only. So he's got a case going in front of the Supreme Court soon to decide if taxpayer money, yours and mine, can pay for church, basically. Pay for children to go to church 8 hours a day instead of school. And I'm not saying that because I don't think that, like, religious schools are schools. I'm saying he wants to send them to churches and give them school credit for going to church. I don't know what the Supreme Court is up to right now. I get the impression that they're kind of coming to their senses at the moment with everything Trump is doing. But anybody in their right mind, any judge anywhere in the country would shoot this down because it's clearly unconstitutional, as clear as it gets. Oh, yeah, and by the way, if you don't know Ryan Walters, he's the guy that basically spent millions of dollars or attempted to spend millions of taxpayer dollars on Trump Bibles to put in every classroom and to be taught from in class. The way that he wrote the order or whatever, the bill that he pushed through to get Trump Bibles, it was worded in such a way that only Trump Bibles fell into the category. It was like leather bound, has a constitution at the front, and so on and so forth, like ultra specific what kind of Bibles it had to be. He's just a vile human being.
So the student is academically successful, has got an understanding of academics to enter the workforce to have a successful life, but the school is going to force the cultism of wokeism onto this child. Enough is enough. They are trying to trans these kids. They are pushing this indoctrination onto kids. Enough is enough. We have got to fight back against this. Thank God for President Trump. Thank God for school choice. Thank God for parents like these parents that are fighting back against this woke nonsense.
He keeps saying school choice. What he's saying is parents should be able to send their children to church every day. In fact, the school should be able to send the children to church for like 3 hours a day to attend church service every day and get school credit for it. No more English class, no more math class, or no more physics or whatever it is. No more biology, no more evolution in classrooms. Instead, they're going to a church for that time block every day. And not just any church, an evangelical church, of course. A Protestant evangelical nutcase church. Actually, I think the one in this specific case is a Catholic church. But anyway, what he's referring to specifically here, I think, in this video is this. So you are required to have a health class to graduate. I had to have a health class. I had to have gym class and certain credits or whatever, right? And this bigoted piece of student refused to take health class and sued the school because they wouldn't let him graduate. And this student claimed that they didn't want to go to health class because it teaches about gay stuff. And Ryan Walters is, of course, leading the charge on this.
It is one more. I want to play one more soundbite, Nicole, from the father here. Again, we disguised his voice because they just didn't want to be, they didn't want to be identified. Watch.
Oh, come on. Show us your face. Tell us who you are. Aren't you proud of the things that you're doing and saying right now?
This.
The guideline for respecting religious diversity was changed. And it now states that you cannot opt out. So,
respecting religious diversity. Look, here's the thing. I don't care how stringent your religion is about taking a child to a mountaintop and chaining them to an altar and cutting their heart out every day at noon. I don't care how much you believe in that. You can't do that. That is a violation of people's rights. You have to live in society. You have to respect other people in society. I don't care how much your religion believes that you should be allowed to own slaves, that you should be allowed to enslave black people. It's irrelevant to me how much your religion says that. You have to respect people and live in society with everyone else. I don't give a shit if you think that it's okay to hate gay people. You know what? Hate gay people. That's your thing. That's your religious thing. But you have to live in society and work with everybody else. It's not religious diversity for you to be able to opt out of necessary education that everybody else has to take and to make everyone else's lives more miserable and more difficult. That's not your right. You're not exercising your rights now. You're taking away others' rights. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose.
we felt like we missed the opportunity when it was available to us. They didn't follow through at that time on their own policies.
And by the way, I'm sorry, one more thing. What do they mean by like LGBT health class? What do they teach in this health class that you think is LGBT? The way Ryan Walters is framing it, they're making it out as though they're teaching kids how to be trans or something. It's at best just telling them that some people are gay and they need to use protection and stuff like everybody else. At absolute best, that's it.
Didn't follow through at that time on their own policies that were written in the handbook and give us the opt-out.
Just vile, dude. These people are just vile. And this is on Fox News, by the way. So Fox News kind of sets the tone for society right now, for the Republican Party, certainly. They're setting the tone for them. So Ryan Walters has responded to the claim. Oh, yeah, and you know what else Ryan Walters did? I'm sorry, one more thing. He removed any mention of the Tulsa Massacre. If you're unfamiliar, there is a predominantly black area in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was called Black Wall Street. There were a bunch of black-owned businesses and everything. We're talking, I think, the early 1900s. And the KKK rolls into town, didn't like the fact that there were black-owned businesses, and they torched the entire thing. Dozens of people dead, businesses destroyed. It was ugly. It was horrific and disgusting. And Oklahomans teach about it in class. Obviously, it's part of their, like, cultural history there. Ryan Walters removed all of the mentions of, like, black people or race or anything at all from the curriculum. They can't point out that it was race motivated or that it was, like, black people that had their area, like, burned down or anything now because of Ryan Walters. That is f***ing vile. Like, what possible justification could you possibly have for removing that from the curriculum? Anyway, listen to this one.
What we have is a very specific charter application. The Catholic schools met that application, which was to show a track record of success and show that the community wants it.
Right. This is the school, the Catholic school that's getting like taxpayer money now to run religious programs. Blatantly unconstitutional. Does not get more obvious.
The community wants these schools. We have Catholic schools in the state that have been here for over a century. Some of our most successful schools are Catholic schools. So they've got a great opportunity here to say, look, we want to make sure that our school is able to be more available to more students. They met the criteria. But look,
the Catholic Church is so filthy fucking rich, it's not even funny. They want to make it available to more students. They can. They're perfectly capable. They don't have a right to my tax dollars. The Catholic Church doesn't, or any other religious organization. I pay taxes so that kids can get an education in math, in the 3 hours, reading, writing, arithmetic, and science. I want them to be literate when they exit school. Religion doesn't fit into that anywhere. It's irrelevant. You want them to learn about religion? Teach them about religion on your own fucking time.
hear our attorney general say crazy things like Satanism is going to be, that's outrageous. He is mimicking the talking points of the ACLU and the most radical elements of the teachers union. Satanism isn't a religion. Satanism isn't.
It is actually legally a religion. So is atheism considered a religion under the law?
Being demanded by parents in the state of Oklahoma.
Oh, it's being demanded. It is being demanded. Yes, there are Satanists in Oklahoma that want to set up Satanist schools, not seriously, but to make a point about Christian schools receiving taxpayer funds.
What we have are parents that want religious liberty, and these Christian schools meet that criteria.
They have religious liberty. You're perfectly free to do whatever you want with your religion, but you can't affect me with your stupid. You want to run a Christian school? Run a Christian school. I'm not stopping you. But you are taking from me. You are affecting my life now by trying to get my tax dollars for this. Anyway, all of that that he talks about with the founding fathers having like their, separation of church and state isn't real and all that. This belief is surprisingly prevalent. I was just talking to some random person, I think my doctor or something, about what I do. And my doctor believes, they're not a radical nutcase, my doctor isn't, but she said to me, she believed that the founding fathers specifically wanted a Christian nation. That's not true. There was one fucking asshole, and that was John Adams. Dude's insufferable. Cannot stand that jagoff. And his wife Abigail. Complete fucking nutcases. Literally everybody else in the sphere. Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, all of them. They were writing the Constitution, and they had to do multiple drafts because John Adams kept putting religious in there. They crumple it up, say, John, stop it. We don't want that in here. Seriously, I'm not joking. That's real. And a lot of that is coming from David Barton and his son, Tim Barton. That's who's on screen here.
When people argue separation of church and state, it's really a misunderstanding of a very popular phrase. If you go back to the Bible, you have, as an example, Moses and Aaron, where Moses is the one that God gives the law to, and Aaron's the one that God puts over the temple, the tabernacle, became known as the church. And you see, God had two separate leaders over separate institutions, but neither one was secular because both of them were getting all their directives from God.
Okay, I don't see how that... The tabernacle became the church? No, it didn't. It remained a tabernacle? What the f*** are you talking about? Also, I don't actually understand the logic here at all. I'm trying. I'm on the struggle bus over here. I guess he's saying... I don't know why he thinks this applies to the United States in any way, shape, or form, but I guess he's saying that the government is a different entity than the church, but it gets its cues from the church?
Because both of them were getting all their directives from God. That was the founding fathers' idea. We believed in separate institutions, not secular institutions, which is totally different.
That's just a lie. He's just lying. It's just not true. He's fabricating information right out of the ether and giving it to people as though it's real. This drives me up a fucking wall when people do this, honestly. Every now and then I touch on this subject and I kind of go through the explanation of everything that, everything that happened, the history of it and all of that. So let me just touch on it for a second. Declaration of Independence is written 1776. They fight the war. I think 1781, maybe, the war ended. They start writing the Constitution. It was ratified in 1787, I believe. Take these dates with a grain of salt. I'm pretty sure that's right. James Madison, I think, was the one that did most of the writing for the Constitution. And they did have multiple drafts because John Adams kept putting in there about religion, and nobody wanted that. So Thomas Jefferson helped, James Madison and others kind of contribute and builds the Constitution into what it was. Some time passes. Washington is president. He does 2 terms and gives it up, so on and so forth. And in the meantime, a Calvinist denomination of Christianity takes over Connecticut and claims to be the state church of Connecticut. So there's this Baptist church writes to Thomas Jefferson, and they say, isn't this like against the First Amendment? By the way, the amendments came out basically the same time as the Constitution. It's not like they were additions necessarily. They were just showing how the amendment system works by adding them. Anyway, isn't it like blatantly against the First Amendment? And Thomas Jefferson said, yes, in fact, it is. The goal of the First Amendment was so that we would have a separation of church and state. The letters between Jefferson and Danbury Baptist Church. Basically, he said the wheels of justice turn slowly, but I do intend to side with you on this issue, and we will correct it. So he becomes president, and I think within just a decade or two, I think it was early 1800s, like 1802 to 1815, I think, or somewhere in that vicinity. That's when the Supreme Court officially ruled the First Amendment says there will be no state churches. There will be no favoritism of one religion over another in government. Now, up to this moment in history, since President number 2, really since day one, since the Constitution came out, everybody has understood that if you allow Christianity to get their foot in the door, you're opening it up for literally everybody to get their foot in the door. And everyone has been respectful of this rule of separation of church and state because Christians don't want to be ruled by Muslims, and Muslims don't want to be ruled by Christians. And Christians realize, we have control right now, but down the line, what happens if we lose control? We don't want to open that door for everybody, so we'll keep it closed for everybody. That's how this is operated. That's why it was written the way that it was. This is called the Establishment Clause. There will be no establishment of religion. And as the federal constitution, it applies to all of the states also, all the way down. So that's the story of separation of church and state. That's where the term came from. That's what it means. It's referring to the Establishment Clause. First sentence of the First Amendment of the Constitution. What we have here with Ryan Walters, though, is somebody that doesn't want to open the door for everybody. He wants to open the door for Christians, and he wants to keep the door closed for every other religion, Satanists, atheists, Buddhists, Muslims. He wants to give Christians special treatment in the law. He wants to favor one religion over another legally. Again, explicitly said in the Constitution, you cannot do that. So yeah, he has a case going to the Supreme Court now. I don't see a scenario in which they rule that it's okay to do this. It would unravel literally everything that we have set up in the Constitution. I mean, we're already erasing religious liberty and religious protection rulings right now. There used to be something called the Lemon Test, where you'd have to find out if a bill had a secular purpose and stuff like that. That doesn't exist anymore. It was erased by the Supreme Court. So they'll go pretty far. Supreme Court will go pretty far trying to shoehorn religion into schools or in government or whatever. But I don't think they're going to do that. That is, I don't know. That's hard to believe for me, but we'll see. Anyway, that's not all we really have to worry about, this stupid nonsense. We also have this one right here. This is Stephen Miller. He wants to alter the education system as well.
Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous, communist, woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues.
All of it is complete nonsense, literally everything that he said. But this guy is an actual, full-blown Nazi. He is a Nazi. He believes in white supremacy and all of it, pretty much. If we're lucky, one day in the future, his face will be in a history book next to the word fascist or Nazi. Same with Tom Homan. But the point is that these people on the far right are trying to alter the education system to bend it to their own will, their own devices, their own interests. I argue that we shouldn't change the educational system to be biased toward anything except for learning. It should be about math and English skills and science. And I feel like there's another subject I'm missing. There are 4 subjects, right? What subject am I missing? Math, science, English. Well, anyway, the point is these people are trying desperately to bend it to their will. We all live in a society. We all have to live in this society together. And nobody can have any kind of like supremacy or power over anybody else. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose. Yeah, the 4th one is social studies or history. That's it. Thank you. Anyway, Ryan Walters is just a vile human being. He's just straight up disgusting. And so is Stephen Miller, and everybody else is trying to brainwash your children. And I'll leave it on this note. Hitler did the exact same thing in Germany. The Nazis did the exact same thing. They changed the educational system to be geared more toward, or to be more friendly toward, Nazi ideology. And to my surprise, teachers disproportionately supported the Nazis. I had no idea. It seems like it'd be the opposite here. Anyway, we just have to fight against this with everything in us. We have to fight against it. We cannot let this happen unopposed. Tell me your thoughts.